cutting out looks. And we had reporters there, multiple reporters that confirmed they had TVs running right there of what was on television versus what was taping. They were a couple minutes behind. So this was taped to air. They were running a giant delay. We see this on C-SPAN when government drug dealing comes up, and then this happens. So one of our great correspondents out there in Chicago who actually traveled to Iowa to cover this, he broke it down and sent us the audio that he recorded right after this happened today. And then we've got, later after it happened, Ron Paul calling him up on stage. So their attempt at censorship backfired. Here's the actual interview with the veteran.
All right, just first off, your name and where you're from.
Okay, my name's Corporal Jesse Thorson, and I live in West Des Moines, Iowa.
What is it about Ron Paul that made you come out here for caucus night tonight?
Well, first and foremost, I've been in the Army for 10 years, and all 10 years of those we've been at war. And he's one of the candidates that want to bring us all home from that war and stop policing the world, and I'm really excited about that. He's just got a lot of good ideas, and I think that he's got the change that can really shake up our country.
Congressman Ball's been talking about bringing not just our troops home from Iraq, Afghanistan, but he's talking about bringing all the troops home from all the foreign bases, all the foreign countries. What are your thoughts on that, and how big of an impact could that be to bring all of our troops home from all these countries?
Well, I think in a way we need to support our allies, but at the same time, I think that we could support our allies from our home front. If we need to go somewhere quickly, we have assets and troops that can do that, and I don't think that scattering us all over the world is going to really make that any more efficient.
Congressman Paul has been receiving, not just here in 2012, but in 2008, was the only candidate to get the most support from campaign contributions from active and veterans in the military. What is it about Paul's message that gets the military so enthusiastic about him and his message?
Well, one of the things is he's a military man himself. Obviously, he served in the Air Force, so that definitely strikes a chord with anybody in the military. Second of all, he doesn't want to cut any of our budget, and then when he does cut budget, it's going to be some of the more frivolous spending that goes on in military spending with government contracts and stuff like that, instead of cutting into the pockets of the soldiers and their families.
Now, you have the rest of the GOP field talking about Ron Paul's foreign policy as a bad thing, as something that the country should be fearful of. As someone who served in the war, what are your thoughts when you hear other people in the field, or even pundits on TV, mention that Paul's foreign policy is bad for the country?
Well, anyone I hear say that Ron Paul could be a dangerous president, especially someone like Michelle Bachmann saying that, I think that's absolutely ludicrous. She obviously doesn't know what it's like to be on the ground over there, and I think that a war with Iran is a little more dangerous than letting Israel take care of their own problems.
I was just going to ask you about that with, the rest of the GOP field talking about going to war with Iran as sort of like a game of risk, just playing, our soldiers off as maybe pieces in a game. In your mind, is going to war with Iran a good thing or a bad thing for the country, and what would the ramifications even be?
Well, obviously for someone like me, it's a horrible thing. I have a family, and nobody wants to go over there and risk their lives. Now, for some people in political power who might get government contracts through KBR and stuff like that, war brings money, and they know this. But I think it's a bad thing, and Israel, they've said several times they can take care of themselves, and I think that we should let them. They have a very strong military, and I'm pretty confident they can handle their own.
Final question, two more questions actually. The National Defense Authorization Act, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Your thoughts on the whole militarization, the policing in this country? The bill even goes as far as saying the military can detain American citizens. What are your thoughts on that, and just, the military's role in America?
Well, I don't think it's the military's role to detain citizens unless they're committing acts against our country. And, that's got to be left to the experts to really determine who is committing the acts and who's not.
Overall prediction tonight and the rest of the way for Ron Paul, if he wins Iowa, how big could that be for his campaign and getting more and more people enthusiastic about it?
Well, I'm very obviously optimistic about this.
All right, he's very enthusiastic, but we all know that the globalists clearly got in there and engaged in some type of secret activity. They counted the votes in secret right there. I mean, there's your proof right there. And we're supposed to be gullible and just buy into it. But there you got to hear a large snippet of him not being censored. We're going to post the rest of the interview. There's like 10 minutes of it tomorrow at Infowars.com. Now, here, and by the way, great reportage by our correspondent out there, Julio. Now, let's go more to the veteran and the current serving troop, Jesse Thorson.